Hi, and welcome back to my channel where we are passionate about helping business owners with business and accounting. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I realized that I haven't done a introduction video, a little bit about myself, for those of you who don't know me in real life. So if you're interested in learning more about me, keep on watching. So I have a few minutes and I thought might as well record a YouTube video while I'm here, which is kind of not like me. I usually have a detailed list of everything that I want to talk about, and I try to hit those points and make my videos as concise as possible. I don't like editing for a very long time. I don't have a whole lot of time to edit, so I try to make these short and sweet and get them uploaded once a week. But I do want to share who I am and my background, and like for y'all to get to know me. So I grew up in Florida. I lived there my whole life. Went from the elementary school to the middle school to the high school with pretty much the same kids. I had great friends there. I loved growing up there. I miss Florida quite a bit. I do enjoy it quite a bit now that I'm older. Get to go visit my parents who still live there. Old friends, I get to see them when we go. So if you don't know me in real life, I have an amazing husband named George and two beautiful daughters. And I'm just so blessed. I'm just so blessed with the family that I have, and my husband, who's just the most supportive and encouraging man I have ever met. Like, he is just, I couldn't do any of this without him and his support and his encouragement and his kindness and his affirmation. And I could go on and on. My family is my life. They're the most important people. My girls are the reason why I started financial design. If they want to continue in the family business, that would be great. If they don't, that's perfectly fine. But I want them to see, I want to be the example for them, the example my mom was for me. My mom was not a stay-at-home mom. She worked an insane job, as well as my dad. They worked for a glass company, a glass power plant company in Florida, and they worked shift work. They worked a lot. You know, I didn't have a typical childhood where, you know, your mom and dad put you to bed at night. We stayed with sitters some nights, and, you know, sometimes my parents worked from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., from 4 to 11. I mean, they're just, their job was just, their hours were insane. And so when they were working, we were with a sitter if we weren't at school. So it was tough. I had to learn how to take care of my sister, and I was very protective over her, and I was pretty much her second mom. I'd get her dressed for school in the mornings. I'd make sure that she ate and brushed her teeth and all that stuff. At a very young age, I am 5 years older than her, and so I always felt that responsibility. And if you come from an immigrant Hispanic family, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You take care of your siblings, especially if you're the oldest. And so that was my role. I think that's one of the reasons why I am the way that I am and who I am is just, you know, my upbringing, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm so thankful that my parents worked as hard as they did and made the financial decisions that they did. They're very much you know, we saved a lot. We didn't spend a whole lot of money. We did take family vacations and things like that, but my parents were never like these luxurious, where we could have. They could have, you know, bought the big fancy house, especially, you know, later on in their careers at that power plant, but they didn't. I lived in the home that I grew up in my entire life, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for them instilling in me at such a young age to work hard, because they did. You know, when we were young, my dad got us chickens. And so I don't know, I must have been like 6 or 7 years old. And I knew people buy eggs at the grocery store, right? So why don't I sell these eggs to people? And I did. Like, I've had this entrepreneurial spirit even as a child, where my neighbor, who was a retired amazing woman, like, I didn't never realize how amazing she was until I was older in life, but she helped me. Like, she would go, and I don't know where she would get them from, but she would get all these egg cartons, and we would fill them up with my chicken eggs that weren't even washed, y'all. These chicken eggs had like poop on them, and she would, take me to all of her friends' house, and we would sell them for like $1.25 or $1.50. And I didn't ever give her any of the money. Like, she let me keep all the money. It was just, those things that I remember as a child. Like, be like, Mom, I made $5 today. And she's like, where did you get that from? I was like, oh, I sold chicken eggs. And then when we got older, I think my mom has always wanted to have her own business, and I think she just struggled in what to do. But I remember I was a little bit older. I was probably about 12 years old, and she somehow got clothing from like Miami warehouses, and then we would go sell them at the flea market. And I remember, like, she'd pay me with ice cream, and I would man the cash register, and I would, meet people, and she was just so good at reading people. And I remember this one instance where I thought, man, my mom is freaking bad. We were cashing out this couple, and they had spent, I don't know, like $60 or $70 on merchandise, and they wrote my mom a check. And I don't know what was my mom had like some sort of intuition. And as soon as that couple left, she called the number on the check, and it turns out that checkbook had been stolen or lost or something. And so my mom quickly called security, and they somehow found this couple, and the police got involved, and all of the merchandise that my mom had was returned to her. And I remember she had like this smile on her face, like she had just done something amazing, which she did. Like, she didn't lose money, and she caught, someone trying to fraudulently steal from, other people. And so it was just like those things that I saw at such a young age just motivated me to just to follow in her footsteps. Like, she's such an amazing person. And so anyways, I kind of got off on a tangent there. But yep, I grew up in an immigrant family. My mom spoke very little English. My dad spoke no English. He's also an amazing person. He worked for the glass plant company. Then he worked in construction, and before getting into construction, he went back to school, got a GED. He learned English while he was in the country, got his licensing for contracting and construction and all of that good stuff. And that's really where I learned a lot of my accounting skills, was through his company. Just the beginning levels of like, yeah, this is what it's pretty fun to do, invoicing clients, and watching him, like, he would go off to work and go out and look at the projects, and then still come home and work on the accounting for the business and do the invoicing and the billing and paying the contractors. All of that was just, being exposed to that at such a young age was pretty amazing. I have amazing parents. I'm so thankful for them, My journey in accounting pretty much started in high school. I was very fortunate to get to work for one of the bigger energy companies out there. It was actually an electric company. And I was a high school student. It was right down the same road. The power plant. I actually worked at a power plant, y'all. Yep, I had to wear a hard hat, safety glasses, just to get from the parking lot to the office building. And it was an amazing experience. I met the most amazing women there. It was supposed to be just a year on the job training for a year. And then once I graduated high school, then they would bring on another high school student and kind of do the same, process. I learned a whole lot about just the workflow of the accounting piece that they dealt with at the power plant. Well, let me backtrack. So I had an amazing boss. He just poured into me. He cared about his staff, and he made me an offer. He actually offered me a full-time job of 30 hours with benefits, with the stipulation that I had to continue and I had to go to college. So basically, he wanted me to not get complacent and, work 40 hours a week, make a decent living, and not go to school. So, it was just unheard of. Like, who does that, right? And so he made me a full-time offer, and the company paid for, they had a tuition reimbursement program. So I did that. I went to a community college. I was driving all over town for school. I was going to like 4 different campuses at that community college, just to get the classes that I needed in. And so my schedule was crazy. I mean, I would go into work at 6:30 in the morning and then go to school, then go back to work, and then go back to school. And then it was just, I mean, he was just so flexible, so, I don't know, just, he got it, you know? He trusted me. So he basically said, I don't care what your schedule is, just get your hours in. So if you have to come in super early, leave, and then come back, you know, you do what you have to do. And I was just blown away by that. And I did. I tried to be, you know, I tried to do a great job because there were people that believed in me. And so I wanted to prove to them that they made a right choice, like that I was worth it. So I worked there for, I don't know, I think it was like 4 years or something. I think I started my junior year of high school. I don't remember. But I worked there for 4 years. So then while I was working, I was dating this guy named George, who later became my husband, who's amazing. And he kind of tricked me, y'all. 6 months later, he moved me to Oklahoma. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't know where Oklahoma was even on the map. Like, it was just so, I knew it was close to Texas, but that was about it. And so we packed up our stuff and we moved to Oklahoma. And it was a complete shock. I was so used to Florida and, you know, just my culture and being around, you know, my church family and my family. And so moving just by faith, seriously, to a whole different state, not knowing a single soul, but we had a plan. So it was okay. It worked out. So the plan was I was going to finish my degree at ORU, and he was going to work and he was going to support us during this transition time. And it was a transition. I mean, we went from 2 incomes to 1, and it was just it was a huge adjustment for both of us. And so my junior year, I mean, just God is just so faithful, and his grace is sufficient. I knew I wanted to continue to work in energy. I just loved the power plant. I just loved everything about what I was doing back home. And that was always in my heart to do that. I was pursuing an accounting degree, but I knew I didn't want to go into like public accounting. I wanted to stay, you know, working for a company. And so my junior year, I was at ORU, and this guy, he came and gave a presentation about the company that he worked for. And he just blew me away. He just had such great personality and just was so funny. And I was like, wow, there's, you know, obviously there was energy companies in Oklahoma, but I just didn't know of any. And so the opportunity, he mentioned that his company was hiring interns. And I came home and I talked to George about it, and he's like, you need to apply. He's like, I'm sure you're going to get it. George is like the most positive person. You guys will meet him if you don't know him in person. He'll probably be on this channel quite a bit this coming year. Anyways, so he's like, you need to apply, you need to do it now. So I did. So I applied for an internship and I got it. And I was a junior. It was a summer internship for just, I think it was like 2 months. And it was working for this tax guy who was hilarious. And so, I went through the internship, and I learned a lot about tax, and I learned a lot about Excel. And so so then the internship was over, and they usually either go 2 ways. They either make you an offer or they thank you for being an intern, essentially. So for me, the VP called me and said, hey, we want to extend you an offer for a full-time position once you graduate. And I had 1.5 years left, and I'm like, yes, of course I want this position. So I didn't even apply to any other company for, you know, jobs. I was pretty much lined up. Like, I knew I wanted to go back into the energy industry in accounting. And so once this opportunity lined up, all I had to do was graduate, which I did. I graduated and I started my career there. And it was just God's steps were ordained, and God's plan is just so much bigger than ours. George and I had to be obedient. We knew we had to move, and by doing so, just all of these opportunities. And the plan was never to stay in Oklahoma. Like, the plan was I'd finish my degree and we'd move back, and I would see if I can get a job back at the energy company that I was working for in Florida. But it didn't happen that way. We ended up staying. A few months later, we bought our house and we just started our lives together. So anywho, I stayed with that company for about 4.5 years. It was right when my daughter was born that we decided that, it was really hard. We didn't have any family here. I didn't want to put her in full-time daycare. So I decided to take a step back and, be home with my daughter. After about a year, I started to just get antsy. I knew I wanted to get back into I wanted to do something in accounting. So I reached out to a headhunter, and I was just like, I'm looking for something part-time that's not going to take up a lot of time, that gives me flexibility to be home. I mean, typical millennial, right? I just wanted to be home with my daughter, but I still wanted to do something, not necessarily to bring income to our household, but really to stimulate my mind. And, she basically said there's nothing really out there that, in accounting, it's really a traditional type industry where you have to go into an office, as far as like the CPAs that were hiring people for help. So that didn't pan out. And I was telling George, I'm like, I feel like I need to be doing something. And so he encouraged me to start a business, which sounds so funny. Like, oh, just start a business, right? I didn't realize how much it would entail to start a business. But I loved the process. I loved from setting up the LLC all the way through figuring out what accounting software we're going to use for the company. And now our business has grown quite a bit. I have quite a bit of clients, and I just love working with every one of them. They're great people, great families, and the fact that I get to help them just is the icing on the cake. It's been an amazing journey. It's been just so much that I've learned in this process, and being able to continue to learn every single day. I mean, really, that's what I love to do. I love to help people and teach people and, make things better for everyone. So I come into their business and I look at their accounting processes, and we just make it better, That's it. That's really all I had in my heart. I just wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully you got to learn a little bit about me. Again, this wasn't scripted or outlined, so I'm pretty much all over the place, and that's what happens when I don't write things down. I just talk. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got to know me a little bit better, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.